They gonna think I want a Grammy. They gonna think I want a Grammy. They gonna think I want a... Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Creative Contact. I'm your host, Orion. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Today we've got the guest host, my sprained/fractured broken wrist. I am super stoked to talk to you guys today because I'm coming to you from a different country. I'm currently coming to you from Georgetown in Penang, Malaysia. And oh my God, I'm sweating again. I'm smelly again. It has been fantastic being out of the cold. India changed me, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about today India, some beautiful things, why I had to leave, the crazy adventure it was getting over here to Malaysia, and then a couple other fun things I have written down on my list here that I want to share with you, you know, kind of keep it typical kind of Kia, like philosophical shit I want to dive into with you. But let's take it from the top. So last I checked in with you guys, I just finished the Buddhist meditation retreat, shared with you my thoughts on Buddhism, on religion in general. That was super interesting, your take on that. I really appreciate the people that push back on those ideas, that embrace those ideas. You get one, my new religion that I'm starting. And so it was just cool to be able to engage with you guys. And I think those are really fun thought experiments. I know that religion can be something that is supercharged for a lot of folks, but I like to be able to engage with those almost from a distant perspective, so that way we can still talk about it, engage with the ideas, see if it makes sense without that kind of just like super crazy, like, you know, I don't want to say overboard thinking, but clinging to ideas so tightly that we aren't able to kind of zoom out and look at them. You don't believe everything you think, right? I love that idea. So let's talk about leaving India. That last week was tough. I left, and then as soon as I left, I got, not India, but as soon as I left the meditation, I got food poisoning. And so I was up in this little mountain village. It's more of a city, but then a village. It's called Dharamshala. It's a little ways out of Dharamshala. It's a place called Dharamkat. But it's like, it was not my vibe. I know some people love that stuff. It's like for hiking and trekking, but it's in the mountains and it's cold and there's like power cuts a lot. And your boy's bougie, y'all. Your boy's bougie. And housewives don't deal well with cold. I've talked about that a lot. I can do things like a cold plunge. I can do cold like for a period, but I don't love just like being cold all the time. You know, I don't love wearing like my jujitsu spats, and shout out my jujitsu spats one time. And like, I just don't like wearing a lot of layers to bed. It's just not my jam. You know, I had a space heater, and then I rented a electric blanket, and it blew up in the bed. I was trying to switch. It got so hot. The remote got, so I tried to switch it down a setting and it started sparking, and then it just like exploded in like this little like tuft of smoke, just like rose. And at the point I had food poisoning, so I did not give a fuck. I was like, I'm glad it's not in my hand. I'm going back to bed. But it was tough. It was tough. It was just like and it was like cold. It was not my best week, we'll put it like that. It's because your boy got flagrant. I started drinking the tap water. They said it was fine, they said. It's fresh off the mountain, they said. Here, we drink it, they said. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I must have just been playing with fire because I think that's what caught up to me. So that knocked me out for a couple days, and I'm just like lying on the cold tiles in this bathroom, and I'm just like freezing and shaking, and it's like my teeth are chattering. I'm like, what? What am I doing? So it was also hilly. It wasn't my place, y'all. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't my place. I'm sorry. I realize I'm spitting because I'm getting excited. I'm also sweating because I'm excited. I'm back in Malaysia. You're lucky I'm not doing this topless. I'm hoping that the audio works, but I just filmed some YouTube videos because it's been a while. Unfortunately, the travel, so much I love about India. That'll be another video for another time. I'm going to just praise India for how much it changed me. This is more just me being bougie and complaining about things, but another challenge that I have in India is traveling by plane, because I wouldn't say I like to, I'd say all my valuables that I have in my life fit into my suitcase. And in India, I'm not sure if it's because they're just super securityed out, which I think it is, but for some reason, they make you take out all the electronics from your bag, and they are the most like intense about that stuff that I've ever seen. In Mexico and Colombia and these other places that you might be like, oh wow, you might think like that place is dangerous. Like I just like put it through the security thing, and like I might take out my laptop, blah blah, and it's fine. It takes like 5 minutes. In India, I have like 4 or 5 little bins, like every single thing is there. I run it all through. They have to do it all twice because they think I'm trying to smuggle something. They get really like weird about me coming through. And then also, oh man, I'll put up a photo here. I don't have it with me right here, but the amount of times they check your boarding pass is insane. It must be, I counted, I think it's like 7 times. I'll put the photo here. You can see the stamps on my boarding pass. Every one of those stamps was a different person that has to check your boarding pass. And because of that, it creates crazy lines. To even enter the airport, there's a security guy that has to check it. And this isn't like your typical, like they look at it, they look at you, yeah, and they wave you in. The guys will like stare at it, and they'll stare at you, and they look at their computer and like look it up, and they'll stare back at you, and they'll look at the pass. And if it's on your phone, they have to like flick through and make sure. I'm like, dude, I'm a photographer. Like, I promise. I'm just trying to get into the airport. And so, learn to be patient. Take a deep breath. I'm coming off this Buddhism retreat, but still, your boy got shit to do. You feel me? So I go in there. It's such a shit show. I end up having to throw some shit away because they didn't allow like my power bank, or they thought I was trying to smuggle power bank. And then like 8 people have to check your boarding pass. I swear there's some guys, that security guys, that just want like a job to do. So they're there just to I'm like, dude, he just checked it. She checked it. He stamped it already. I swear I am who I am. And that is the right flight, I promise. But it's just such a traveling in India for me was like one of the biggest downers. Like, at least by plane. By bus or the other stuff, I'm sure it's fine. But by plane was frustrating. A couple other things I wanted to complain about. Sidewalks. That was honestly the main reason I left. Was sidewalks. Straight up. I didn't realize how much I missed them. As a man who loves to walk, it gets hard walking in the road. It gets hard sometimes walking up hills. It gets hard just because there's a lot of traffic, right? There's a lot of people, a lot of traffic. Everything happens in the road. So people are either trying to like hawk items at you, or you're about to get hit by a motorcycle, or a car, or a cow, or a pig, or chickens, or a goat. You know, so it's like there's like a flaming pile of trash. So it's just, you can never just kind of be like, relax into like podcast land, or like relax into like, if I'm trying to like work through an idea in my head or come up with a script for a content or a story, I can't just be like walk and like work through stuff. I'm always like, oh, like on edge, just because I feel like I'm about to get hit, because I am about to get hit. And so it's like, just, I don't think I realized my love for sidewalks until I didn't have them. And I was like, whatever country I go to next, I'm just Googling, are there sidewalks? I just Googled what countries have sidewalks. Throw a dart at a map. I'm going there. It's been amazing having sidewalks again. I'm just throwing it out there. India, you know I love you, but I love sidewalks more. I think that's what it is. It's unfortunate. Doorknobs. Another thing I really missed. Small things. You don't think about it. But every door that I encountered in India had 2 latches, a latch on the outside and a latch on the inside, which is kind of cool, except that I don't know how more people don't get locked inside through this model. But I honestly just miss doorknobs a lot. To me, it makes just things, again, small infrastructure things you don't think about until you don't have them anymore. I miss doorknobs. Showering in a bucket. I'm not totally opposed to showering in a bucket. I think for me, showering out of a bucket got frustrating when I had food poisoning. I think all of these I won't say problems, but just day-to-day life things overall, just get expounded when you have food poisoning, just because they all feel like they're kind of working against you, whether it's the power cuts, whether it's the cold, whether it's the mountains, no sidewalks, no doorknobs, showering out of a bucket. It just all feels like it's just challenging. And so I think thinking about life in India, that would be the best way that I would describe it, is that it's challenging. And as someone who's now fractured a wrist, thinking about something I want to talk about that, is that how much I feel like when I'm the happiest, I often grow the least. It's often in these moments when I'm struggling the most, that I learn the most. And so, when I've been the brokest, when I've lost jobs, when I've broken bones or had a broken heart or whatever, I've learned the most from those moments, those experiences. And that's how I feel about India, was that it was beautifully creative. It was never easy. It was a life-changing experience, and I'm glad that I did it. I think it really opened my heart in a lot of ways, just because it completely changed what I thought I knew about the world. I'm going to do a video in about a month because I've been on the road almost 5 years in a little less than a month, which is crazy. So my 5th year anniversary to the road. I want to make a video about some cool different things. There's a little teaser, a little taste. But having been on the road constantly for 5 years, you start to assume that you know things. And it's interesting how quickly those things can still be challenged to this day. And so I'm really grateful for India to turning my assumptions on their head, to showing me something I'd never seen before. That was why I went there, because I said I missed being challenged in that way, and I also missed. It sounds like bougie, but like I missed like real awe of experiencing something new. You kind of get into these like patterns, whether it's Asia, Latin America. I haven't done Europe yet, so there's a lot out there still for me to learn. But you get, and it's like you've kind of seen them when you've seen them all, sort of thing. Not true at all, but you kind of get into that. You can start to recognize patterns, and India just flipped that all the way on its head. In the way that it was nothing I'd experienced before, nothing I'd seen before. It made me feel things I'd never felt before. It pushed me in ways that I hadn't experienced in a probably ever. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm also ready to get back on my bullshit. I'm ready for sidewalks, y'all. I'm ready to fall in love again. I'm ready for doorknobs. I'm ready for shower heads. I'm excited for electricity. I'm ready for it all. And so that's what I'm doing in Malaysia, is I said, I want to go to a place that has a little bit more infrastructure. Let me see what's up with Malaysia. I'd heard a lot about Georgetown. I want to do KL because I'm at a place where I want to have a relationship again. I want to experience love again. I have all these tactics, these techniques that I've learned now. Nonviolent communication. I've been listening to a lot of like cool relationship therapy stuff. I feel like I'm just like more self-aware. Like I want to put it to practice. I need a partner to practice with. And so this shit isn't much fun. You do it by yourself. And so I'm ready to have a relationship again. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a place that I'm going to find it. After coming to Kuala Lumpur, I realized very quickly the infrastructure was amazing, but I realized that there's a cost that comes with the infrastructure, and that cost is money. And that is something I do not have right now, because I've got this little pile of savings that I'm kind of riding on for this year. And so I couldn't do it. I found like a lot of cool places in Kuala Lumpur, but they were all out of my price range. So I bounced to Georgetown in Penang, and price was right, vibes was right. I felt like in Kuala Lumpur, it's like these big high-rise condos with like gyms on the top floor and infinity pools, and they're amazing, but they're like built into shopping malls. And that's just not exactly my vibe, at least right now. Like you can see, like I just like places that feel like, one, a little cheaper, but also just feel like a house, you know, or like in a chill apartment. Because again, I like to walk, and I'm not trying to like walk in a shopping mall. You know, I want to like walk around a neighborhood or something. And so I found a really cool, how would you just, it's like an apartment house kind of thing in Georgetown. I'm living out in, it's kind of like the projects, honestly. If you just replace like black teens with little Asian ladies, it's kind of just like big high-rise, not high-rises, but like towers that are constructed and just super local and little run down, but cool. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good. I was feeling good until I ended up boxing, fractured my wrist. So things have been challenging, but it's been, after coming off food poisoning from last week and then fracturing my wrist, it's been interesting to put a lot of this Buddhist practice to use, thinking a lot about pain and suffering and frustration and patience. And it's been cool using that kind of rework, that framework of thinking about like, how can I take this as an opportunity for growth? How can I think about this as an opportunity for gratitude? You know, I didn't realize how much I used my wrist until I hurt it. And then I was like, oh damn, I use this shit for everything, you know? And taking a shirt off or on is challenging. Like anything, trying to even plug something into like an adapter. Trying to plug anything into the wall is difficult if if it's like on a surge protector, because you have to like hold whatever, cutting a carrot, anything you have to hold something and then you have to do something else with the other hand, try just doing it with one hand. Crazy. You boys have been learning a lot about gratitude recently. So being down and out with food poisoning and being down and out with this, I've just had a lot of time in pain, in bed, to think about life. And stumbling on this idea that, two ideas. The first one is, how crazy lucky is it to be able to take this entire year off to pursue a creative pursuit? Insane. When you think about how many people in this world have ever been able to take an entire year just to do one thing they wanted to do, it's probably so small, so infinitesimally small. I didn't even say that word right, but you know what I'm talking about. It blows my mind, actually, that like I encounter so many people out here that are working 6 days a week, if not 7 days a week. I ask people and they'll be like, no, I never get a day off. To be like, oh, I'm taking an entire year. That I realize after this year, life may not be great. You know, I may end up back at a day job, end up at another shitty job. Shitty jobs are not that far out of my future. But this year is rad. And I got it just for Kia. And it really blows my mind how lucky that is. And what's crazy about it, what's the most crazy about a lot of this stuff that I think about, is how much my life was dictated by decisions that weren't even under my control. That most of my life, that 99% of my life, I'm going to see this, an idea I'm working through, I'm trying to articulate it, was set up before I even arrived. And of all the beautiful things that can happen to me in this life, that is like the 1% of from whatever I chose to do with it. But that being born to two parents in the US with a passport in an English-speaking country with infrastructure. Insane. Like, that alone, born in the US, speaking English, with a passport, in like a small town, but it, you know, it's not like I'm like way out somewhere in Alaska, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was still pretty rural, but it wasn't that crazy. Like, that, and also being a dude, like a white dude. Like, I pulled the lottery ticket, you know what I mean? And it was all predetermined before I even showed up with my fucking golden Willy Wonka ticket. It was already written. And like, that to me, I know it sounds hoity-toity and just like, yeah, Kia, that's simple. But it's the more that I live outside the States, without sidewalks, without electricity, meet people that don't speak English, meet people without passports. Like the English-US lever to be born in the US and speak English, like that lever alone is just the craziest lever to be able to pull, just to like have a successful life. And it really blows my mind a lot. Just thinking about that, like especially with India, like especially out in like small town, small village India shit happens everywhere. But for an example, the guy who drove me to the airport I paid 1,000 rupees, which is $12 around. It was an hour, maybe an hour and 10 drive through the crazy mountains, past goats, past sheep, it's India. So it's like the driving rules are kind of like very loose as is. And then you're like way out in the mountains and you're just like, it's insane. I asked him, he made 100 rupees off of that. And about 80 rupees is $1. So for an hour-long trip or more, he made $1, $1.20. And then he's got to drive back. And then he's got to do that again. And again, and again, and again. All day, every day. And so at that scale, I think that's why when I'm in India, I have a really difficult time just like living the day to day without getting too heady about it, because it gets really difficult once you break it down in that regard of you interact with people and learn about what their daily life is like and how much money they're making or not making. And yeah, it's like, it's just insane. It's such a mind fuck, such a mind fuck. That obviously I haven't exactly totally grappled with it fully yet, but still thinking a lot like day to day, just like how I like just was born winning the lottery. Life is hard, period. Yeah, things will be tough, but being born like and just knowing English, like it's crazy. That everything is in English is crazy. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about, another point, I know this podcast is getting crazy long, and I'm trying to not keep it too long, is this point was when I was up there in the mountains and had some time to reflect. I was thinking about this kind of my eat, pray, love journey of doing ayahuasca in Brazil, doing the Vision Quest in Colombia, doing this Buddhist retreat in the Himalayan mountains, and thinking about what it is that I'm trying to prove and who am I trying to prove it to, and thinking about, are the skills that I'm going to acquire, is the masculinity that I'm so thirsty to attain, are the skills of what makes a man things that I truly want to be able to do, or are these things that I want because I feel like these are skills that I think women want men to have. And that's not a bad reason to learn skills, right? Is to be a more, increase your mate value. But I think a lot of times this stuff, I'm starting to realize how many times I'm doing things not necessarily for me. Like I am doing it for me, yes, but also other times there's like these other ulterior motives of either things that I think would like help me be more attractive, as a partner, or be a better person, blah, 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 which is, again, not a bad thing. But I'm like, I wonder sometimes helps me think about maybe staying more true to self with some of this. So those are some things that have been on my mind lately. Anyways, I'm out here in Georgetown. Come say what's up. I'm probably going to be celibate for this year because that's just the way things may work, but I'm down for it. My head and my heart are going to stay connected. I'm going to keep writing, keep working on this project, and enjoying motherfucking sidewalks, baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'll check you on the next one, hopefully with a better wrist. Deuces.